Katie, we're good to go?
Yes, we are good to go.
All right, great. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Two River Theater in cyberspace. We are here, the Two River Theater players, in our virtual production of Romeo and Juliet. I reckon probably a number of you in the audience have been here for all 4 acts thus far of our 5-act extravaganza. So welcome back to those of you who've been with us before, and welcome anew anybody who's coming here for the first time. For anybody who is here for the first time, we are a group of staff members who do a wide range of things at the Two River Theater Company. Folks from every department are represented here. And then we have one special guest star in our Juliet, Sara Holdren, who has become a part of the Two River family over the last few years when she started by directing 2 of our Little Shakespeare productions, The Comedy of Errors, and then Macbeth. And then this past year, a great success with one of my favorite things was that production of Twelfth Night that Sara directed. So anyway, but without further ado, actually, I think we should just jump in and start. I'm going to do as I did before and just introduce everybody so that you know who they will actually tell you who they are and the parts that they're playing. But I'm going to go around the different blocks in my screen and point to them and have them say tell you who they are and which character they're playing. And then once I've done that, Sara will jump in and just give us a little synopsis of what happened last week. All right. I don't know about any of you, but I'm hoping it's all going to work out okay. I've had enough drama and tragedy lately, so I think there's a chance it'll work. I don't know. Let's see, though. Okay, up here in the corner, we've got Yurik.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm Yurik Lozano. I'm Two Rivers Multimedia Manager, and I'm playing Paris.
And then Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie Benson. I'm Two River Theater's Special Events Manager, and I am playing Second Watch.
Great. Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Montano. I am the sound supervisor at Two River Theater, and I'll be playing Friar Lawrence.
Great. Kate.
I'm Kate Cordaro. I'm the Director of Education at Two River, and tonight I'm playing First Watch.
Cam.
Hi, I'm Camila Bush, and I'm the Artistic Assistant, and I'm playing the Apothecary.
Taylor.
Hey everyone, I'm Taylor. I'm Two Rivers Literary Manager, and today I'll be playing Romeo.
Sara.
Hi, my name's Sara Holdren. I'm a director and friend of the theater, and I'm playing Juliet.
Abbey.
Hi, I'm Abbey Smith. I'm a lighting and sound assistant, and I'm playing Capulet.
Mich.
Hi, I'm Mich Davis. I am a props assistant, and I will be playing Montague.
Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda Espinoza, and I'll be playing, I'm the Education and Community Engagement Manager at Two River, and I'll be playing Balthasar.
Duane.
I am Duane Noch, the Master Carpenter in the Scene Shop at the theater, and tonight I'm playing the Prince.
Denyse.
Hi, I'm Denyse Reed, Director of Development, and I'm playing Lady Capulet. Hi, Mom.
And Christian.
Hey guys, my name is Christian Dilks. I'm the staff carpenter at Two River Theater, and tonight I'll be playing Friar John as well as the page.
All right, then. Sara, would you mind just giving us your whoops, well, everybody's leaving. Okay, your quick synopsis of what happened last week.
I do not mind. So last week we had Act 4. Act 4 was all about Juliet. Romeo went to the bar. Things were moving super fast. She went to the friar to get advice about what to do now that she's secretly married and her husband also happens to have killed her cousin. At the Friars, she ran into Paris, the guy that she's supposed to marry like tomorrow. And after he left, she told the friar that she would be willing to die rather than marry Paris, and she had the dagger to prove it. So he came up with a desperate plan involving a potion that would make her only seem dead. She went home and had a kind of forced makeup session with her parents. And after she'd finally managed to get all of them, and also her nurse, who she's sort of broken with by now, out of the room, she had a big wild speech where she got more and more sort of freaked out and hallucinatory and worried about what might happen if she took this potion. But then ultimately she committed and she took it and toasted to Romeo and passed out. And then we had lights up on the next day, her supposed wedding day. And the whole family found her seemingly dead. And there was a lot of mourning, like intense, like beatings of breasts and rendings of garments type of mourning. And then there was some strange comedy from some servants and musicians who hung around Juliet's dead body after her family cleared out. And that's pretty much where we left. So here we go.
All right. Thank you very much, Sarah. All right, then. Everybody in places for the top of Act 5, Scene 1. Enter Romeo.
If I may trust the flattering truth of sleep, my dreams presage some joyful news at hand. My bosom's lord sits lightly in his throne, and all this day an unaccustomed spirit lifts me above the ground with cheerful thoughts. I dreamt my lady came and found me dead, strange dream that gives a dead man leave to think, and breathed such life with kisses in my lips that I revived and was an emperor. Ah me, how sweet is love itself possessed when but love's shadows are so rich in joy.
Enter Romeo's man, Balthasar, in riding boots.
Who's from Verona? How now, Balthasar? Dost thou not bring me letters from the friar? How doth my lady? Is my father well? How doth my Juliet? That I ask again, for nothing can be ill if she be well.
Then she is well and nothing can be ill. Her body sleeps in Capel's monument, and her immortal part with angels lives. I saw her laid low in her kindred's fault, and presently took post to tell it to you. Oh, pardon me for bringing these ill news, since you did leave it for my office, sir.
Is it e'en so? Then I deny you, stars. Thou knowest my lodging. Get me ink and paper and hire post horses. I will thence tonight.
I do beseech you, sir, have patience. Your looks are pale and wild, and do import some misadventure.
Tush, thou art deceived. Leave me and do the thing I bid thee do. Hast thou no letters to me from the friar?
No, my good lord.
No matter. Get thee gone, and hire those horses. I'll be with thee straight. Well, Juliet, I will lie with thee tonight. Let's see for means. O mischief, thou art swift to enter in the thoughts of desperate men. I do remember an apothecary, and hereabouts he dwells, which late I noted in tattered weeds, with overwhelming brows culling of simples. Meager were his looks, sharp misery had worn him to the bones. And in his needy shop a tortoise hung, an alligator stuffed, and other skins of ill-shaped fishes, and about his shelves a beggarly account of empty boxes, green earthen pots, bladders, and musty seeds, remnants of pack thread, and old cakes of roses were thinly scattered to make up a show. Nothing. Noting this penury to myself, I said, and if a man did need a poison now, whose sale is present death in Mantua, here lives a caitiff wretch would sell it him. Well, this same thought did but forerun my need, and this same needy man must sell it me. As I remember, this should be the house. Being holiday, the beggar's shop is shut. What ho, apothecary!
Enter apothecary.
Who calls so loud?
Come hither, man. I see that thou art poor. Hold, there's 40 ducats. Let me have a dram of poison, such soon speeding gear as will disperse itself through all the veins, that the life-weary taker may fall dead, and that the trunk may be discharged of breath as violently as hasty powder fire doth hurry from the fatal cannon's womb.
Such mortal drugs I have, but Mantua's law is death to any he that utters them.
Art thou so bare and full of wretchedness and fear'st to die? Famine is in thy cheeks, need and oppression starveth in thy eyes, contempt and beggary hangs upon thy back. The world is not thy friend, nor the world's law. The world affords no law to make thee rich, then be not poor, but break it and take this.
My poverty, but not my will, consents.
I pay thy poverty and not thy will.
He gives him the poison.
Put this in any liquid thing you will, and drink it off, and if you had the strength of 20 men, it would dispatch you straight.
There's thy gold, worse poison to men's souls, doing more murder in this loathsome world than these poor compounds that thou mayst sell. I sell thee poison, thou hast sold me none. Farewell. Buy food and get thyself in flesh. Come, cordial and not poison, go with me to Juliet's grave, for there must I use thee.
He exits. Scene 2. Enter Friar John.
Holy Franciscan friar, brother, ho!
Enter Friar Lawrence.
The same should be the voice of Friar John. Welcome from Mantua. What says Romeo? Or if his mind be writ, give me his letter.
Going to find a barefoot brother out one of our order to associate me here in the city, visiting the sick and finding him. The searchers of the town, suspecting we both were in a house where the infection's pestilence did reign, sealed up the doors and would not let us forth. So that my speed to Mantua there was stayed.
Who bare my letter then to Romeo?
I could not send it. Here, it is again.
He returns the letter.
Nor get a messenger to bring it thee. So fearful they were of infection.
Unhappy fortune. By my brotherhood, the letter was not nice, but full of charge, of dear import, and the neglecting it may do much danger. Friar John, go hence, get me an iron crow and bring it straight unto my cell.
Brother, I'll go bring it thee.
Now must I to the monument alone. Within these 3 hours will fair Juliet wake. She will beshrew me much that Romeo hath had no notice of these accidents. But I will write again to Mantua and keep her at my cell till Romeo come. Poor living corse, closed in a dead man's tomb.
He exits. Scene 3. Enter Paris and his page.
Give me thy torch, boy. Hence, and stand aloof. Yet put it out, for I would not be seen. Under yon yew trees lay thee all along, holding thy ear close to the hollowed ground. So shall no foot upon the churchyard tread, being loose and firm with digging up of graves. But thou shalt hear it. Whistle then to me, as signal, that thou hear'st something approach. Give me those flowers. Do as I bid thee. Go.
I'm almost afraid to stand alone here in the churchyard. Yet I will adventure.
He moves away from Paris, and Paris scatters the flowers.
Sweet flowers. With flowers thy bridal bed I strew. O woe, thy company is dust and stones, which with sweet water nightly I will do. Or wanting that, with tears distilled by moans, the obsequies that I for thee will keep, nightly shall be to strew thy grave and weep.
The page whistles.
The boy gives warning something doth approach. What cursed foot wanders this way tonight? To cross my obsequies in true love's right? What, with a torch? Muffle me, knight, a while.
He steps aside, and Romeo and Balthasar enter.
Give me that mattock and the wrenching iron. Hold. Take this letter. Early in the morning, see thou deliver it to my lord and father. Give me the light. Upon thy life I charge thee, whate'er thou hearest or seest, stand all aloof, and do not interrupt me in my course. Why I descend into this bed of death is partly to behold my lady's face, but chiefly to take thence from her dead finger a precious ring, a ring that I must use in dear employment. Therefore, hence, be gone. But if thou jealous dost return to pry in what I farther shall intend to do, by heaven I will tear thee joint by joint, and strew this hungry churchyard with thy limbs. My time and my intents are savage wild, more fierce and more inexorable far than empty tigers or the roaring sea.
I will be gone, sir, and not trouble you.
So shalt thou show me friendship. Take thou that. Live and be prosperous, and farewell, good fellow.
For all this same, I'll hide me hereabout. His looks I fear, and his intent I doubt.
Balthasar steps aside while Romeo begins to force open the tomb.
Thou detestable maw, thou womb of death, gorged with the dearest morsel of the earth, thus I enforce thy rotten jaws to open, and in despite I'll cram thee with more food.
This is that banished haughty Montague that murdered my love's cousin, with which grief it is supposed the fair creature died, and here is come to do some villainous shame to the dead bodies. I will apprehend him. Stop thine hallowed toil, vile Montague. Conventions be pursued further than death? Condemned villain, I do apprehend thee. Obey and go with me, for thou must die.
I must indeed, and therefore came I hither. Good gentle youth, tempt not a desperate man. Fly hence and leave me, think upon these gone. Let them affright thee, I beseech thee, youth, put not another sin upon my head by urging me to fury. Oh, be gone. By heaven, I love thee better than myself, where I come hither armed against myself. Stay not, be gone, live, and hereafter say a madman's mercy bid thee run away.
I do defy thy condemnation, and apprehend thee for a felon here.
Wilt thou provoke me? Then have at it thee, boy.
They draw and fight.
Lord, they fight. I will go call the watch.
Oh, I am slain. If thou be merciful, open the tomb. Lay me with Juliet.
Paris dies.
In faith I will. Let me peruse this face. Mercutio's kinsman, noble county Paris. What said my man when my betossed soul did not attend him as we rode? I think he told me Paris should have married Juliet. Said he not so? Or did I dream it so? Or am I mad, hearing him talk of Juliet, to think it was so? Oh, give me thy hand, one writ with me in sour misfortune's book. I'll bury thee in a triumphant grave.
He opens the tomb.
A grave? Oh no. A lantern, slaughtered youth, for here lies Juliet, and her beauty makes this vault a feasting presence full of light. Death, lie thou there by a dead man interred.
He lays Paris in the tomb.
How oft when men are at the point of death have they been merry, which their keepers call a lightning before death? Well, how may I call this a lightning? Oh, my love, my wife, death that hath sucked the honey of thy breath hath had no power yet upon thy beauty. Thou art not conquered. Beauty's ensign yet is crimson in thy lips and in thy cheeks, and death's pale flag is not advanced there. Tybalt, liest thou there in thy bloody sheet? What more favor can I do to thee than with that hand that cut thy youth in twain to sunder his that was thine enemy? Forgive me, cousin. Ah, dear Juliet, why art thou yet so fair? Shall I believe that unsubstantial death is amorous, and that the lean, abhorred monster keeps thee here in dark to be his paramour? For fear of that, I still will stay with thee, and never from this palace of dim night depart again. Here will I remain with worms that are thy chambermaids. Oh, here will I set up my everlasting rest and shake the yoke of inauspicious stars from this world-wearied flesh. Eyes look your last, arms take your last embrace, and lips, oh you, the doors of breath, seal with a righteous kiss, a dateless bargain to engrossing death.
He kisses Juliet.
Come bitter conduct, come unsavory guide, thou desperate pilot now at once run on the dashing rocks, thy seasick weary bark. Here's to my love. true apothecary, thy drugs are quick. Thus with a kiss I die.
Romeo dies. Enter Friar Lawrence with lantern and spade.
St. Francis be my speed. How oft tonight have my old feet stumbled at graves? Who's there?
Well, here's one, a friend and one that knows you well.
This be upon you. Tell me, good friend, what torch is yon that vainly lends his light to grubs and eyeless skulls, as I discern it burneth in Capel's monument?
It doth so, holy sir, and there's my master, one that you love.
Who is it?
Romeo.
How long has he been there?
Full half an hour.
Go with me to the vault.
I dare not, sir. My master knows not, but I am gone hence, and fearfully did menace me with death. And if I did stay to look on his intents.
Stay then, I'll go alone. Fear comes upon me. Oh, much I fear some ill, unthrifty thing.
As I did sleep under this yew tree here, I dreamt my master and another fought, and that my master slew him.
Friar Lawrence moves to the tomb.
Romeo! Alack, alack, what blood is this which stains the stony entrance of the sepulchre? What mean these masterless and gory swords to lie discolored by this place of peace? Romeo. Oh, pale, who else? What, Paris too? And steeped in blood. Oh, what unkind hour is guilty of this lamentable chance? The lady stirs.
Oh, comfortable friar, where's my lord? I do remember well where I should be, and there I am. Where is my Romeo?
I hear some noise. Lady, come from that nest of death, contagion, and unnatural sleep. A greater power than we can contradict hath thwarted our intents. Come away. Thy husband in thy bosom there lies dead, and Paris too. Come, I'll dispose of thee among a sisterhood of holy nuns. Stay not to question, for the watch is coming. Come, go, good Juliet. I dare no longer stay.
Go! Get thee hence, for I will not away. What's here? A cup. Close it in my true love's hand. Poison, I see, hath been his timeless end. Oh, churl drunk all and left no friendly drop to help me after. I will kiss thy lips. Haply some poison yet doth hang on them to make me die with the restorative.
She kisses him.
Thy lips are warm.
Enter Paris's page and the watch.
Lead boy, which way?
Noise. Then I'll be brief. Oh, happy dagger, this is thy sheath. There, rust, and let me die.
She takes Romeo's dagger, stabs herself, and dies.
'Tis the place. There, where the torch doth burn.
The ground is bloody. Search about the churchyard. Go, some of you. Whoe'er you find, attach.
Some watchmen exit.
Pitiful sight. Here lies the county, slain, and Juliet bleeding, warm and newly dead, who here hath lain these 2 days buried. Go, tell the prince, run to the Capulets, raise up the Montagues, some other search.
Others exit.
We see the ground whereon these woes do lie, but the true ground of all these piteous woes we cannot without circumstance descry.
Enter watchmen with Romeo's man Balthasar.
Here's Romeo's man. We found him in the churchyard.
Hold him in safety till the prince come hither.
Enter Friar Lawrence with another watchman. Here is the friar that trembles, sighs, and weeps. We took this mattock and this spade from him as he was coming from this churchyard side.
A great suspicion. Stay the friar, too.
Enter the prince with attendants.
What misadventure is so early up that calls our person from our morning rest?
Enter Lord and Lady Capulet.
What should it be that is so shrieked abroad?
Oh, the people in the streets cry, Romeo, some Juliet, and some Paris, and all run with open outcry toward our monument.
What fear is this which startles in our ears?
Sovereign, here lies the county Paris slain, and Romeo dead, and Juliet dead before, warm and new killed.
Search, seek, and know how this foul murder comes.
Here is a friar, and slaughtered Romeo's man, with instruments upon them to fit open these dead men's tombs.
Heavens! O wife, look how our daughter bleeds! This dagger hath mistaken, for lo, his house is empty on the back of Montague, and it missheathed in my daughter's bosom.
Oh me, the sight of death is as a bell that warns my old age to a sepulchre.
Enter Montague.
Come, Montague, for thou art early up to see thy son and heir now early down.
Alas, my liege, my wife is dead tonight. Grief of my son's exile hath stopped her breath. What further woe conspires against mine age?
Look, and thou shalt see.
O thou untaught, what matter is in this, to press before thy father to a grave?
Seal up the mouth of outrage for a while, till we can clear these ambiguities and know their spring, their head, their true descent, and then I will general of your woes, and lead you even to death. Meanwhile forbear, and let mischance be slave to patience. Bring forth the parties of suspicion.
I am the greatest, able to do least yet most suspected as the time and place doth make against me of this direful murder, and here I stand, both to impeach and purge myself condemned and myself excused.
Then say at once what thou dost know in this.
I will be brief, for my short date of breath is not so long as is a tedious tale. Romeo, there dead, was husband to that Juliet, and she, there dead, that Romeo's faithful wife. I married them, and their stolen marriage day was Tybalt's doomsday, whose untimely death banished the new-made bridegroom from this city, for whom and not for Tybalt Juliet pined. You, to remove that siege of grief from her betrothed, and would have married her perforce to county Paris. And comes she to me, and with wild looks bid me devise some mean to rid her from this second marriage, or in my cell there she would kill herself. Then I gave her, so tutored by my art, a sleeping potion, which so took effect as I intended, for it wrought on her the form of death. Meanwhile, I writ to Romeo that he should hither come as this dire night to help to take her from her borrowed grave, being the time the potion's force should cease. But he which bore my letter, Friar John, was stayed by accident, and yesternight returned my letter back. Then, all alone, at the prefixed hour of her waking, came I to take her from her kindred's vault, meaning to keep her closely at my cell till I could conveniently send to Romeo. But when I came, some minute ere the time of her awakening, here untimely lay the noble Paris and true Romeo dead. She wakes, and I entreated her come forth and bear this work of heaven with patience. But then a noise did scare me from the tomb, and she, too desperate, would not go with me, but as it seems did violence on herself. All this I know, and to the marriage her nurse is privy, and if aught in this miscarried by my fault, let my old life be sacrificed some hour before his time unto the rigor of severest law.
We still have known thee for a holy man. Where's Romeo's man? What can he say to this?
I brought my master news of Juliet's death, and then in post he came from to this same place, to this same monument. This letter he early bid me give his father, and threatened me with death going in the vault, if I departed not and left him there.
Give me the letter, I will look on it. Where is this county's page that raised the watch? Sarah, what made your master in this place?
He came with flowers to strew his lady's grave, and bid me to stand aloof, and so I did. Anon comes one with light to ope the tomb, and by my master drew on him. And then I ran away to call the watch.
This letter doth make good the friar's words, their course of love, the tidings of her death. And here he writes that he did buy a poison of a poor apothecary, and therewithal it came to this vault to die and lie with Juliet. Where be these enemies? Capulet, Montague, see what a scourge is laid upon your hate, that heaven finds means to kill your joys with love. And I, for winking at your discords too, have lost a brace of kinsmen. All are punished.
O brother Montague, give me thy hand. This is my daughter's jointure, for no more can I demand.
Mich, take that back. You were muted. Yep.
Sorry about that. But I can give thee more, for I will ray her statue in pure gold, that wells Verona by that name is known. There shall no figure at such rate be set, as that of true and faithful Juliet.
As rich shall Romeo's by his ladies lie, poor sacrifices of our enmity.
A glooming peace this morning brings. The sun for sorrow will not show his head. Go hence and have more talk of these sad things. Some shall be pardoned and some punished, for never was a story of more woe than this of Juliet and her Romeo.
All exit. End of play. Yay. Hooray. Applause. Yes, wild applause. I don't know how you do a standing ovation out in Zoom land, but we give you one. Yay. All right. And there is Juliet still in her crypt, but back to life. That's good to see. All right. As we have in the past, I'll open up first. Any thoughts or comments or questions from any of the actors? Anything surprising to you or come to you in a different way, having heard it or performed it?
I'm surprised at how short Acts 4 and 5 are.
Yeah.
That's all.
I was going to say the same thing. It just is a runaway train. You know, it just, all these things happen right after the other in quick succession. And it's, I guess that's, it helps to, you know, build the tension and the, come to the climax.
To be fair, there's quite a fight that happens that probably takes them quite a bit of time. You know.
Yes.
So it's
obviously
much shorter here reading it. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Also, we're in lots of different places as well. We're kind of moving around a lot in locations. Yeah, Sarah, you were going to say?
Oh yeah, it's just like it's amazing, sort of like decision wise. It's like I feel like the most. I mean, like I got a speech in Act 4 that was sort of more, I think of them as like Hamlet-y, right? When somebody's like figuring out whether or not to do something, but for the most part, like people don't have that type of speech. It's like, I decided, like, let's go. And even so, like, I think, I don't know, it was more of a like hallucinatory thing than it was like a like a true sort of like working through of like, should I not? Like that just doesn't really happen in these acts, which is kind of wild. Like the minute someone gets a piece of information, it's like the most drastic. I mean, I had completely forgotten that Juliet has 3 lines in this act.
Yeah.
Like I'm awake, here he is, I am dead.
I got it. Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting because I felt that too, and I don't know. I feel a lot of this backs to those things that I think I kept bringing up that we were all noting and bringing up, but just about how he plays with time in this play, and sort of the rhythms of what we know and what we know is going to happen, how that relates to our sense of time, about expectations as well. I started really wondering, does it need to move like that so that the audience never feels like they're ahead of it at all? Is he very canny in the way that he's compressing our sense of storytelling time, so that we as the audience never get ahead of it, and still can have that feeling that I always do, which is maybe it can work differently. Maybe the place where we're heading to isn't where we're going to go, but if we allow ourselves to sit in that too long, maybe we wouldn't believe it, that we get there. Yeah. Amanda, you looked like you were about to start speaking.
No, I was talking about being in this world and being so present with what's going on with Romeo, and he's dead. And then my daughter wanted to be in the show when Friar Lawrence showed up.
Yeah.
But what happens with that's like acting, even on stage when there's somebody coughing or candy, and like my friend, like those moments of being present, even on virtual, and it went so quick. Like, what we were playing with time, and I just was blown away by that. How even just sitting here, it still feels that I'm there. So
interesting. You mentioned the cat, because I don't know if any of you knows Martin McDonagh's play, The Lieutenant of Inishmore, but there's a cat who plays a very important role, and you can't get a cat to enter on cue, when you do that play, you've got to come up with all kinds of animatronics or whatever to get the black cat to do just what your cat did so beautifully in our scene. So, yeah. Sarah, I cut you off there.
Oh, no, just like Amanda was like reminding me that there's that, like, is Balthasar who says it? Like somebody says they've been outside the tomb for a full half an hour, which is also so wild. Because it's like clearly in terms of what we've heard, it's 2 minutes but it's like there is clearly some kind of like interesting like elapsed thing happening too. I feel.
Yeah. Katie, I don't know if you're looking through the chat, but I did notice that Beth had asked a question. I think in that scene, when Paris shows up all distraught, Beth was wondering, is Paris any less in love with Juliet than Romeo is? And I wonder what any of us here in the company thinks about that. What would you say, Yurik, about Paris's love for Juliet?
Sure. So, so in the play, it's kind of assessed that I'm 25 to 29, within that range. And Juliet's, 14, 15. So like, that's pretty young. And for me, like, I think I'm ready to like have kids and maybe have I mean, just for like, I'm like ready to have a stable life. And really, like, I know I come from like a wealthy family in the play. I'm kind of like I can give Juliet what she needs in a way, and I kind of can like guide her maybe, So like, I don't know. I think
that doesn't sound much like love. That does not sound very romantic to me at all. Actually.
No, I mean, I think what happens is, for Paris anyway, I think maybe the illusion of like being in love with Juliet is kind of leading him to feel all of these like maybe hasty feelings or like quickened feelings. But I do think they're genuine. I mean, when I was reading the play, I did feel like I mean, there's a lot of sadness when she dies, or at least when he thinks she dies. And I felt that, like my wife to be passed away, and that's kind of sad. And then I went to the crypt. I think, Romeo's he's not a very good person in my eyes. And I'm over there trying to protect her. So just from that alone, nobody told me to go to the grave. I went by myself.
That's right. Nothing seemed insincere to me about that, about his actions there.
Yeah.
That doesn't, but the fact that Shakespeare doesn't let him live does seem to be maybe add to, or at least allow for, Paris to have that same sort of died for love kind of thing that the others had, to some extent maybe. But I wonder, Romeo, do you feel like, relatively speaking, that Romeo's love goes deeper, or that Shakespeare's wanting us to lead to thinking that in any way?
I would certainly say it's different, because I think that, even in that conversation, I think Romeo and Juliet's love relationship, attraction is sort of based on, on an actual, personal, like one-to-one interaction, whereas Paris and Juliet never have that opportunity in a real way. I think by the time Juliet interacts with Paris, it's I have to shut this door so that I can get to Romeo. In my head. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, I'm just sorry to cut you, but because you were leading, I thought, and their love or their intended relationship is a very political one. We're told from the outset, much more political.
Mm-hmm.
And whereas Romeo and Juliet is, of course, defying the politics in a way.
Very subversive.
So, yeah, so something must be even more profound and deep.
But I never doubt Paris's passion.
Yeah.
I think what you said earlier, that it being sincere, is spot on. He's willing to die to either kill or bring in this guy who he feels is the cause of his betrothed's death.
Yeah.
He's like kind of though, isn't he sort of one of those, I don't know, sometimes I feel like they're sort of interesting blank slate characters in Shakespeare, right? Where it's like, there isn't actually a lot to go on. And so like an actor and a director can make a lot of decisions. Like, I remember, like, I was in a production of this as Paris and the nurse when I was younger, and my Paris was like a little bit slimy, and mostly based on that one line, "Thy face is mine and thou hast slandered it," which I have always just hated, and I just think it's gross, and like and like their weird interaction, and like so so it's like I sort of built from there, but not that I think that like I think you could choose different points to build from, because he is a little like he's open in that way, which is kind of a neat opportunity for whoever's doing it.
Yeah. Katie, you popped on for a second. Do you want to guide us through some questions?
Sure. Carol asked, doesn't Friar Lawrence get off really easy here?
Huh. Does he, Dan?
I thought the same thing. He goes through this another one of his huge monologues, and he's just like, well, Prince is like, well, we always knew you were a holy man, so carry on. Yeah, he does. I don't know.
But it was really Friar John that didn't deliver the.
That's true.
Wasn't.
Yeah.
Friar Lawrence had the best of intentions for all of this. He was only trying to help, I guess.
Yeah. He does. You do believe his feelings, and that he's bereft and feeling bad and guilty. I mean, he also did attempt in some ways to change fate with these people in a way that's really deep, and for a spiritual person to do that might, I mean, I feel like I don't disagree that the ground he tread was pretty dangerous,
Yeah.
and
You know,
and
yeah.
and lots of people die for it, you know.
And it's interesting that, you know, earlier he blames it on, he blames it on Capulet or Montague when he says, you know, the heavens have not been smiling on you lately, don't tempt them again.
Yeah, Capulet, yeah, I think.
That kind of struck me as strange because interesting that he's blaming them, saying the heavens are, you know, you're doing something to anger the gods here.
Yes. Yeah.
What was the scary noise you heard in the that you had to run away?
In the tomb?
I know we're dunking on you in the chat, but which is unfair because I love Friar Lawrence, but still.
Yeah, he bails pretty easily. Noise, doesn't he? He's not a real brave guy. Not real brave either.
So we have another question from John and Tricia. After the lovers are dead, the pace changes and a lot of folks are entering and leaving one after another. Lots of recap and explanation. What's Shakespeare doing here dramatically?
Yeah.
Tying up all the loose ends, you know.
Yeah, I think, I mean, dramatically in terms of action moving and rhythm, I think it's kind of what we were talking about earlier, that, you know, would be, I think, something really for a director and actors and a whole team to sort out and feel like how to make something that feels inevitable with that, you know, that sort of tumble of events. I don't know, I happen to love that in so many of the plays. I don't know about the others of you, but the kind of tumbling, tying up that happens at the end of plays, I find really thrilling and almost sort of musical or something. And I definitely feel like in this play where that sense of inevitability and time and rhythm is something really to play with. Who's saying fun things in the chat?
It's not really, I'm sorry. No, but the big old wrap up at the end is interesting to me. So I directed this with high schoolers once at the American Shakespeare Center, and I did a cut where they wanted to be very short, which like we haven't really, I don't think we've gotten the sense of it over 5 weeks, but like it's a long ass play actually, like it's not short. And so I was cutting a lot because they wanted it to come in and quickly. But I cut all the text after the lovers died, and like had this whole idea for like music and a pantomime and like this. It was sort of very cinematic, and they are very sort of they're pretty purist there. And I was given a directive from above that I was not allowed to do that, and I had to restore all of the like all of the text. So, you know, but I've always been interested in something like that because I really do think that like sensibilities change over time theatrically. And I think that like, you know, there's that like famous cliche, but I think it's true, right? About like Shakespeare tells you what he's going to do, he does it, and then he tells you what he did. And I think that's partly based on like how theater was in the day. Like people went and walked around and went and bought nuts and like came back and like went in and out. And like, you know, I think like there is something in the plays that lends itself to like the more kind of like communal, casual, like not sitting in our seat, focusing on every word experience that I think theater was back then. And that like the ending does have a little bit of that dramaturgical sort of like, hey, if you went to the bathroom, like this is for you, you know, which like, and not, I mean, not to say that there isn't juicy stuff to be found for like, especially the friar, or like the parents, at like, because obviously the decision you make with the parents is huge as to like what you think the import of the whole play is. But I've been interested in like, you know, directorially like messing with the text at the end, because I do think that like there's, you know, despite what American Shakespeare Center wanted, like I think there's, you know, leeway there to like do something different in our current theatrical sensibility.
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to see that actually, but I think also I personally do find something fun in that sort of tripartite dynamic that you're talking about in storytelling. You know, I think that we do. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I do think we enjoy a little bit. We revel in a little bit being told the thing that we saw happened, that we were part of it, it sort of helps us to feel like we were there, you know. And there are some things that I think that one can do with that. Because I feel like in so many of the plays, especially the comedies, that, you know, watching all of the pieces come together that we've been watching as pieces, and his telling us how they all come together at the end is, I don't know, it's fun. But yes, the problem, I think part of the problem is just in our, from my sense anyway, our audiences, our sense of rhythm and time and how much time we can actually sit there for has changed.
What kind of experience you want to leave people with? Like, how ragged do you want it to be? You know, like I think that, you know, there's something very comforting in wrapping up, even in a tragedy. And it's like, do you want people to be able to leave? You know, it's sort of the old question of catharsis, right? Like, how much do you want to be able to have?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Carol asks this question in that way. In a way, Shakespeare did the wrap up in the first line of the play. Exactly. Yes. You know, we knew, he wanted to make sure that we knew where we were going all the way at the top, and knew it all the way through. He has, to my mind, my recollection, never done anything quite so explicitly that way before. Almost every play has some level of a subtle foreshadowing that happens very early on, that if you get attuned to, you can feel the end in the beginning, and the beginning in the end, in so many of the plays. What else, Katie? Any other questions I missed? I did miss a good friendship happening between Beth and Sara. Good. I wish that well. I think lots of us feel that way about Beth and Sara, so get in line. Great. Katie, were you going to say something?
Well, John, I was going to ask you a question for myself.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, I know you've done a lot of these weekly play readings with the Shakespeare 101 in the past seasons. And so how do you think that this one went for you? Was there anything you learned about this play, about your staff members that you want to share with us?
Well, I've learned that which I knew to a large extent, but I have now, I feel like, begun to see the infinity of the talent that exists in this group of people who work at Two River Theater. Didn't know all the, I mean, I knew that we were all a talented bunch of people, but I didn't know to the extent how much of it was untapped. So, you know, when we've done these readings in the past as part of that series, it has been fun in a different way which we considered doing in this context. But what we've done in the past, and many of the people in the audience know this because they were participants, is we would, as participants, all just read it cold together around a table. And just everybody got a chance to read, everybody would play different parts. And I was always surprised when we did that by how clear, in a way, the plays became by hearing them, you know, out of the mouths of people who were struggling to make sense of it in the very first, and at a very first kind of cold reading go of it. In this one, I think, in this context, I feel like I could see the work that the company did, the actors each did in advance, to try to find the sense and the kind of the sort of pulse of the thought through the speeches by having worked on them before, and that's just another level of sort of helpfulness for an audience wanting to know what's going on. So that brings me to this thought as we think about closing this up. Just from this audience, what level of interest is there in us doing something like this again? Or does anybody have out there any particular comments or observations about this that might affect how we were to do it again? Is there an appetite for being an audience to this again? There's definitely an appetite among the many hams that you see in front of you right now, I think, for doing this again. So we'd be happy to do it even without an audience, I think. But yeah, and I think Katie and Hannah, am I right that you folks from our online task force, also including Amanda and Taylor on this group, are going to send around a survey with some very specific questions for this audience? Maybe we can use your guidance to develop this further and do some more. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Everybody will be getting a survey in their email.
Great. Okay. And there's Denyse and Rosie. Hey. All right. Anybody out there have any other questions or comments?
I've always, or often, not always, looked at Shakespeare's language as an impediment, and just reading through it one time and having to do a lot of work to find out what is exactly being said and everything. But having done this a little bit for this project, it was amazing how easy and how much sense it was, and it wasn't an impediment, and it was rewarding. And everyone says they have an appreciation for the beauty of the language and everything. It really is. It's incredible, and to use the language to help bring your inner life out is wonderful. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, I mean, the language is, I think what you're saying, Duane, is something that a lot of us have felt, that there does seem to be some impediment to where you want to go that we often blame the language on. But in fact, the language is the gateway, right? The language is the real portal to the depth of what he's getting at, and how we have a relationship with that language to get to that place is what is that's the actor's craft, that's the actor's work. And the only way you get there, you don't get there intellectually. You never get there just through your brain, although your brain is a part of it, but it has to be your whole body that is the thing that unlocks that gate. And it's part of the reason that I feel like I really wanted to do that thing that I do with the audience when we read the plays together, because I think I've converted some people out there in our audience into believers in the same way that you say, Duane, about the language, when they themselves try to do it, which I guess is not something that we do at home alone, and we need to come together to do that, but I think it's worth doing. But yeah, thanks for saying that, Duane. A comedy, Brian wants a comedy next. Okay. I also like somebody's, yes, this was kind of a comedy. I liked, somebody had the idea of maybe us doing a play that you don't get to experience very often. There are a number of plays in the canon of however many you count, maybe as many as 38 of them, that a number that we don't know so well. And I actually think a number of those ones that don't get done for different reasons are actually really quite wonderful. And especially when you don't know them, surprising. So, okay, I'm babbling on. Love Slavers, okay. All right. Anything from anybody else?
This was awesome.
No.
Thank you guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Really fun. It was really something to look forward to every week.
Yeah, it's great. One of the things maybe, I don't know if the surveyors could find a way to ask, but you audience to think about, because one of the things I worried a little bit about was, is a week too long a time to wait? I mean, we used to have to do that in the old days of episodic television. We'd have to wait that week to find out what was going to happen next. Binging really allows us not to have to do that anymore. But I don't know if you found that annoying or nice and beneficial, and having something to wait for and look forward to in the week might be something to comment on. So, all right. Lovely to feel the presence of you, all of you out there in the audience. We love you and are so happy you're here with us. Please stick with us. And I said huge amounts of love and thanks and congratulations to this beautiful array of actors in front of us. All right, and until next time, everybody stay well and healthy and sane, and we'll see you around. Okay, bye.